New workshop, plenty to get on with, plenty to talk to you about. It's been a long time since we've been in front of the camera, on your screen, entertaining you with everything BMW and BMW heritage, but we have plenty to talk about. We've got a workshop absolutely stacked with work and loads of other stuff to go into detail about.
So for the regulars and for the new subscribers, it looked like we had a little bit of a hiatus recently. We've basically spent the last 4 months building our workshop on top of trying to live our regular lives, and on top of trying to build and plan all of the bikes for the bike shed that are coming up, along with all of the builds that we've had in for the last 4 or 5 months whilst this building has been coming together. So we're going to touch on the workshop a lot more and the bike shed a lot more in a couple of separate videos, so keep your eye on the YouTube channel for those. Yeah, other than that, we just want to say a huge thanks for everything that we've done.
Absolutely,
for all the people who've helped us get to this point in the last 3 or 4 months. It's been a bit brutal. It was -6 in this place, also we had a cold snap and we were in here jet washing the floor. It's just been a bit savage. I think 19-hour days was my longest one so far. So we're feeling a little bit ropey, but we're back.
We're back.
We're chirpy, we're happy. Stu's going to do his standard walk around as per.
Well, plenty to walk around about in the workshop, loads of stuff. We got everything from basic builds to basically pretty much full-on frame-down builds. There's loads to talk to you about. However, before we get to that and before I give you a bit of a detailed shout, we just had an open day and it went extremely well, and it's basically the sum of all of our hard work has pretty much come to the end. The workshop isn't quite where we want it to be yet, however, it is a work in progress, but the open day was amazing success. We were both blown away. Yeah,
banging. So we hosted the open day on a Saturday morning. Unfortunately, the weather was typically British April showers. It was just grim out there, to be honest. And despite the fact that the sun didn't come out till about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, we counted well over 100 people coming through the workshop. We had a really, really, really good day. There were 20, 30, 40 R90s, R18s out the front. We were really touched. A lot of people had travelled a long, long way. We had people travelling hundreds of miles. One person left his home at 4 o'clock in the morning just to come down so he could ride all the way down for it. It was crazy. Huge shout out and thanks to the guys who came down and supported us for the open day. We had Craft House Coffee, we had Teddy Edwards Barbers, we had Kaitone, we had Age of Glory, we had BMW Motorrad brought some of their bikes along for us as well. It was really cool. It's something we're going to probably look to do a little bit more of. Yeah. We don't want to do one every week. It's going to get boring, but keep an eye on the socials for anything like that. We have now got our, should we call it forever home? Like our dream home,
absolute forever
our Barbie dream house, basically.
We've
ended up with it, so we want to use it. You know, we've got
our own Ken. We've got our own Ken. We've got our own Ken.
We've got a customer lounge now. We've got a little retail store. There's loads of stuff that we're going to go on to and show you in the workshop video, I should say. So yeah, that's all good.
That is all good.
We want to put a big thanks out to those people who helped us get there, and also the people who have helped us build it. Stu's dad primarily, to be honest.
Yeah, him out. We've worn him out.
He retired last year before, and he's probably done more hours in the last month than he probably did for the 6 months before.
Very grateful. So, thanks, Dad. Appreciate that.
That's cool, and also all of the other family members who came down and gave us a hand setting up and helping out on the day. So I think we need to walk around and look at some bikes instead of listening to my mouth.
I think we definitely do. So I'm going to walk off and I'm going to show you around the workshop. First workshop walk around of 2023 in a new workshop, and I'm extremely excited to show you this stunner. So this started life as a 2019 Scrambler. However, I'm not going to do this bike any justice going through the details in the workshop walk around. So head to the feed and I'm going to be doing a separate video on this because there is so much to go through and it needs its own video. Simple as that. So moving on to something else. Now this bike, you've seen it here before. It's been here a little while because we've been working on the exhaust and we've been waiting for the other elements of the build to come in. However, this is going to be featured in our bike shed preview video. We're going to talk about the carbon wheels and all the other elements of the bike. So head to the feed. That is also another video for you to enjoy. This build is one that's going to be super interesting. So the customer's going basically a black and white Alpine theme on this. So we're going full blackout on absolutely everything. Blackout on the front end, even the stanchions are getting done. So we're going to nitride the stanchions. Customer wants to go gold standard with this bike. So we're going Wilbur's front and rear. We're going with the plus 70 kit, front and rear on the bike, going to give it an absolute stance. Full Cerakote exhaust system, unit garage rear end, the works. Custom seat, custom paint work, that's behind me. I'm going to go into detail in that in a moment. And something which we haven't seen before, the customer is having tubeless wheels, so the BMW standard tubeless wheels that have been despoked and Cerakoted black and then rebuilt. I've seen a picture of those from our wheel builder. Thanks ever so much, Joe. You're doing an awesome job on those. They look absolutely stunning. And this is this customer's second bike with us, and we are very, very grateful that we're going on this journey with him for a second time because, like I said, it's gold standard, this build, and he is very, very excited about it. Go into detail on the tank a little bit now. The guys from Valkyrie have absolutely knocked it out of the park with this. Customer's design on the tank, he wanted to go with what we feel is a factory finish on the tank itself. So you got R90 on this side, BMW on that side, looking extremely factory, making this bike looking like it's going to be something that he pre-ordered at the dealer. The Alpine white with the sort of like a charcoal, sort of like a take on a BMW colour, which is the Black Storm Metallic, a little bit of charcoal on there, and on the bike itself with the grey and black tones, it's going to look absolutely stunning. So once again, some details on that later. Let's move on to something else that Rory Milts has been working on with a real old school scrambler theme.
So Stu's handed over to me because this is absolutely my jam. Customers picked up an Urban GS, and obviously the styling of the Urban GS is very much based on the R80 GS from the 80s, including all the paintwork and everything else. He said, I want to go further with it. I really want to take this back to the 80s. So we've got a custom-made rear end on there, got rid of the diving board, the best thing you can do for the tail end of the bike anyway. And we've managed to get this custom unit to fit. There's a little bit of fettling still to go on. We haven't finished the whole thing completely yet. Adding to that sort of vintage, heritage, off-road vibe, we've also gone for a new front cowl. To be honest, the front cowl is, again, an off-the-shelf, a service piece. It's not something we've had to fabricate or anything, so it's just a case of modifying what's already got. This is, I'm all over this. This really reminds me of like the old XRs and everything else, like a real 90s sort of enduro bike. I love the aesthetic and the look of this bike complete. I know there's a little bit to do. To be honest, we got to this point and said, dude, like, you've really nailed the aesthetic, but it doesn't look off-roady enough. So we're actually gone for a high suspension on this as well, and we're going to jack the suspension up by using our Louis Moto fork tops too. It's just going to give it the stance that it deserves for the look that it's got. So I'm huge into it. Finished off with a couple of Wunderlich handguards. For me, this is 90s, 80s off-road all over, and I'm big into it. We're going to pass over now to Stu, who's working on one of our sort of current 719 projects. Just have a quick chat about that.
This one is going to be quite an interesting one. So we've got the BMW R90 719 accessory kit on this bike. Customer loves the 719 accessory kit, but he feels like it's a little missing that edge. So we are extremely excited to essentially do a PCC version of the 719, and that will include getting rid of the gold forks, keeping the silver yoke, so not doing our full blackout kit. We're going to keep everything as it would, so no blackout, but we are going to be matching the forks by Cerakoting them the same 719 grey as the cylinder head covers. Customer is also having signature mods like the PCC airbox removal, the PCC intake scoop, the Evo, and all the other good stuff that goes along with that. Daedalus rear end is already fitted, as you can see here, looking absolutely sweet. As Rory mentioned, get rid of the diving board, one of the best mods you can do to smarten up the rear end. As well as that, the customer wanted to keep it quite Cafe Racer vintage, so we are going to be going with a faux suede cover on the seat. I believe the customer's going to go for this one, something to complement the gold. And now that the gold forks have been removed, the gold that is in the 719 paintwork is going to absolutely pop. So that's all on this one. We're going to talk on this one a little bit more.
One thing to consider on that one, actually, just before you go there, is sometimes when you're trying to match colours, make sure all the colours match. I know that sounds really dumb, but at the moment, we find that the gold forks and the gold paint on the 719, they're actually different golds. So in getting rid of one of them, you actually make the other one look better.
Absolutely,
there's not two colours against each other. And the same can sometimes be said for blacks. You get lots of different finishes on blacks. We recently rolled a bike out of the workshop that it was really, really important to match the black that was on the tank, which was potentially different to the colour we would usually use for the full blackout kit. Yeah. So just thinking about those things sometimes, instead of saying, I'm going to add 5 different gold things to my bike because I want to run with the gold thing, just make sure you're thinking about the finishes of those products before just throwing them onto the bike, because you can detract from what can be something that's actually really nice in the first place.
The customer has actually pointed out, going on what Rory just said, that he wants this blacked out at the front here, but he wants it to be exactly the same black. So whereas before on the majority of our builds, we send off the silver parts to be blacked out because the customer wants them to match exactly. We will be sending off the whole clock body and the whole headlight body. So everything will be refinished so that it is a single batch finish and it will absolutely match. Anyway, so details that Rory put on that one was a very good point. So we're going to leave that one there and move on to one of these ones. So this is a post bike shed build. So as we mentioned at the beginning, we are absolutely stacked, so much so that we've got post bike shed builds here ready to start as soon as we possibly can post the bike shed. So customer is basically having the Alpine build and the copper R80 style build in a blender. You're going to end up with what this customer wants. He wants the fat front tyre conversion. Being a scrambler, this can absolutely happen, something I'll go into detail in with the separate video on that. And we're having a bespoke rear end, bespoke custom seat, and an awesome, I believe, a beautiful white paint job with some details on that as well. Full blackout as normal, but like I said, those two bikes in a blender, boom, you're going to end up with this one.
The guy who owns this is also the guy that owns the Pure Muscle build that we've obviously showed off a lot of shows. He's basically said the Pure Muscle is perfect. It's exactly as I wanted it to do. However, I also now want to go to the Alps, and for that I want a bit more travel and suspension. I want to be able to put the luggage on it, and basically he didn't have the functionality and he didn't want to compromise on the bike he had, and said, right, this has got to be the one. So if you imagine the Pure Muscle, if you loved everything about the Pure Muscle, that's basically the aim for its bigger cousin, effectively, for this one. Yeah, last one on the ramp is this one. This is in for service. We've started to see quite a few of the 21, 22, 23 plates coming in with 6,000 services. We're doing the valves and everything else we need to do for this. Just a reminder, we are doing servicing. We are currently booking again from July onwards. And I want to put thanks out there to the people who have said, we can service your bike, but it's going to be 3 months' time. And they've said, yeah, sure, cool. I'd rather you guys did it than anyone else. So that's very, very cool. I'm going to throw Stuart over to there to the three headless horsemen, and he's going to show you what we're doing over in the corner with regards to a lot of front end refinishing.
So we are over at this side of the workshop. We are at our three headless horsemen. So as we mentioned earlier, this bike here, this is a Bike Shed R18. Ignore that for the moment. There's a separate video on that. Check that out in the feed. We go into some more detail on that build. That's going to be absolutely awesome. So all three of these bikes are having a PCC full blackout kit. So the one with the silver tank is keeping the gold forks to emphasize the Cafe Racer gold BMW element to it that the Roadsters offer. However, the rest of the bits are going to be fully blacked out. Back to this one here. This is a Gen 3 with the 719 kit on it. So you can see we've got the anodized 719 cylinder head covers, the anodized 719 seat brackets. Now the customer wanted to make this look even more factory than it does already. So we are going with the full blackout on the front end, and we are going with a contrast cut handlebar mount to match the contrast cut on the 719 cylinder covers. A bike that's going to look very, very fluid and very, very complete. Extremely cool, excited to see that one come together. Moving along to this one here. This bike is a Gen 1 machine, and the customer wants to go with a black and copper theme. Clearly copper at the moment is quite fashionable. As you can see here, we've got the dismantled fork leg. This has been cerakoted in a metallic copper. Going to look absolutely stunning with the blacked out front end. Similar to this build, the front end has been completely taken apart, stripped and re-anodized with the fork leg going in it to suit that. The customer is doing this one in stages, so we're starting off with the blackout on the front, and then the customer's going to do the paintwork on the tank at a little bit of a later date. Going to look absolutely awesome. Looking forward to seeing that one come together. Full blackout on this one, as I alluded to at the beginning, but keeping the gold forks. Unlike the one over there, which has got the gold on the tank and the gold on the forks, this keeps the gold, which makes it pop, much like making the tank gold pop. This does the opposite. Blackout with the Roland Sand cylinder covers, blackout with the anodized parts, keeping it factory and making it look like a very, very complete build. This customer's also having the airbox removal and some of the other PCC signatures. Going to look very complete, and also one that we're very excited to see come together. So that is the workshop walk around, all done and dusted for this episode. We hope that you enjoyed that, and I hope you're excited to see where it goes from there, because there's lots of stuff that needs doing.
So over to everything website related. Amongst all the time where we've been building the workshop and building bikes, I've also managed to get some new products on the website, which is cool. So SP Connect SPC Plus range, it's a new and improved range from SP Connect, which basically means that you can attach your phone to your bike and use it for obviously calls if you've got Bluetooth headsets, or most importantly GPS. I've been using SPC products for probably about 3-4 years now. I think they're fantastic. Whip your phone out, pop it on the bike. It takes all of 2 or 3 screws basically to fit all the attachments you're going to need, and then whip your phone back off and back in your pocket. Save having an extra nav and everything else. So we've uploaded all of the products and parts, including the anti-vibration dampers, which means they're not going to ruin your iPhones, which is a problem with some of the quad locks, for example, at one point. All of the newer iPhones and all of the Samsung products are there, so check out the new section on the website to find those. G&G Exhaust, brand new exhaust company to us. G&G are based in Italy. If you saw our recent Blood Moon Wolf build, then you'll see that one of their underslung sort of 2-into-2 systems underneath the bike. It looks fantastic, very, very ultra modern looking. Sounds incredible with the baffles in, sounds loud and incredible with the baffles out. They've been a really, really cool new product to work with. The guys at G&G, we spoke to them about a couple of projects initially. They've blown us away with the quality of this one, and we're actually going to start moving forward with much more Pier City product going through them as well. Really, really highly recommended. Again, find that under the new tabs on the website. And finally, Age of Glory. We have put some new t-shirts together with Seb at Age of Glory. We've got the new Electrum t-shirt, we've got a new Hooligan t-shirt, and we've got our standard Works t-shirts back in print, and they're all now with us and in stock. If you head to the new section or to the Age of Glory section of the website, you'll be found all the t-shirt range, including all of Seb's other range too. So he's just released his summer and spring 2023 line, and they're great. To be honest, they're probably my best, or my favourite offerings that Seb's put onto his website in the last couple of years or so. So head over to there, have a look, have a click, check out, add a t-shirt to your order if you want to. We really, really appreciate the support, especially things like the t-shirts. You know, it's really cool that when we go to the Bike Shed show, or, you know, we've had the guys from Baffle sort of mention to us that they've seen people in the PCC t-shirts walking around. It means a huge deal, and it's also supporting things like the Hooligan shirt, for example. All the profits from that go towards our racing season. So speaking of racing, I'm going to head back downstairs and show you a little bit about our Hooligan bikes and where we're at with that. So, flat track racing. We did a separate video about a year ago or so talking about how we were going to take our R92 machines onto track to go flat track racing in the Hooligan series in the DTRA in the UK. We have done so. It's been an eye-opening experience for sure. It started off with doing a very, very good informative course by some guys called Dirtcraft, which is run by Gary Birtwistle, who's one of the UK champions. We obviously built the bike, did a little practice, and then turned up at the 3rd or 4th round of the season last year and just had a go. And obviously when we're out there, we're racing against people who've been doing this since they were this big. It was equal parts terrifying and a learning experience, but ultimately it was an extremely fun weekend, and I certainly completely fell in love with it. So fast forward to an Isle of Wight race meeting after that, and then to the end of the season round at Greenfields, which is like it's almost like the home of dirt track in the UK in Lincolnshire, and we decided to get a second bike. So Stu and I are now both going to be running a bike each in the Hooligan series again this year. We went to the Isle of Wight and did a practice day recently with Danny Williams. Danny Williams is going to be racing for round 1 because unfortunately Stu can't make it on the second bike. It has gone from a project that would be a fun thing to do to realising just how much there is involved in it, both with the bike setup and obviously the racecraft. Now, I'd never expect to jump on a bike and be anywhere near as quick as someone who's doing it for a long time, but it really threw me as to how different it was to, certainly from like the road track disciplines, and even just a little bit like the Green Lady and off-roading. I was expecting it to be more akin to that. This is a whole different ball game, and a lot of the things that we noted in the first video on the work run about how we were going to set the bike up with flat track bars, this, that and the other, turns out throw it out the window, start again on it. So we've now improved that. We've put some new risers on these ones in order to bring the bars back to us. Most importantly, we've just spent some time on the bike. Danny, who's going to be riding with round 1 for us, has been super helpful. He's given us some rider coaching as well. He's extremely quick. He's been doing it for a few years now. So things like your throttle position, your holding, how you hold the throttle, where you place your weight, everything's the opposite to everything. Certainly that Stu's learned coming from the track background, where everything is front end feel and hanging off the bike this way. All of a sudden you're pushing the bike down this way, and you're almost pushing your bike into the floor and trying to stay upright yourself. It's almost the complete exact opposite. So we're going to be doing all rounds this year. We've got 5 rounds for the season. the sort of like the headline one of those for me is going to be going to the MCN Festival. We're going to be racing both on the Saturday and Sunday at the MCN Festival in May. So come down if you can find us. We'll be all set up. We'll have the awning there. We'll be giving out some Dunlop bits and bobs whilst we're there, because Dunlop have very kindly given us a bit of support with the project so far. And yeah, come say hello. We'll probably have a few shirts to sell and such. So yeah, it's good. It's fun. It's crazy. It's wild. Come and get involved.
Congratulations on making it this far. That was a very long video. As we warned you at the beginning, it's been a little while and there was lots in there. So 2 other videos for you to look out for on the feed. Bike shed preview video, bikes you see in the background, some details on that, some renders, etc. And the workshop progress video, how we got to this point and how we got to this beautiful space that you see behind us. However, workshop related, we're done for that. It's all website time now, so.
Yep, so on top of the parts that we've already updated in the new section of my section of the video, we've also got the Our Build section of piercitycustom.com. So head up there, look for the PCC section at the top, click the tab and drop down, and just have a look at some of the builds that we've been putting up. Every time we complete a build, now we've got a purpose-built space for it. We're able to take more photographs, we're able to get more of our builds up there. And especially for those people who email us saying, I'm thinking about getting an R90 or I've just bought a bike, what do I do? And that's a very, very common email that we get. Have a flick through there and have a look at what we've done before, because there might be a couple of tail tidies, headlights, something in there. Give us something tangible in an email to say, guys, I've really seen these builds. Can you give me an idea on price? Could you give me an idea on whether this will fit my bike? You know, it's a really good section of the website to get some inspiration on working on these R18 and R19 machines. So I think that's it from us. We will see you next time.
To do many.